If you are extremely distracted on a day-to-day basis and you're trying to develop an extreme focus, but all you're doing is scrolling, you're on TikTok, you're on Instagram, you're on Twitter or X or whatever it is now, and that is just taking you away from what you need to do, I'm going to teach you how to develop extreme focus in 5 very easy steps. But we're going to have to put the phone aside and just watch this podcast for like 15, 20 minutes. But we're going to get into it. Welcome back to the Chasing a Greater Vision podcast. Thank you all so much for watching this podcast. If you like it, please share it. We're just trying to be better humans, be better together. Today's episode is on how to develop extreme focus for the very distracted person. So if that's you and you're trying to develop focus, this is for you. It's going to be 5 easy steps. I'm going to talk about it at a high level and just run them down real quick. Number 1, you have to list your distractions out. Number 2, you got to stop multitasking. Number 3, you have to train your brain. That's a big part. Number 4, eat healthy food. Interesting, but you'll see why. And number 5, take breaks. Now, I am someone who is very easily distracted because I am a multitasker like no other. I have way too many tabs open on my computer all the time. I can see my phone. If it lights up, then I'll answer a text and I'll end up on Instagram. Then I'll be doing something work-wise, won't finish the task, get pulled into a meeting to do something else, and then won't finish the task. And by the end of the day, I have a lot of things that are opened that have not gotten done because I have been distracted with everything, and not every distraction is a bad distraction, but it distracts me from finishing what I need to finish. So this isn't just about the scrollers or anything. This is about and for people who just have so much on their plate and they don't get anything done and they have this constant stress buildup, but there's not a focus and a lock-in. So we're going to talk about it more today. Now, this is our tips and tricks because these are practical things that if you do them today, you will start to see results quickly, like very quickly. So number 1 is list your distractions. I'm someone who's big on seeing the demons head on so I can attack them. Whatever it is, I need to see it. I need to see what things that I need to improve. I need to see what things that I need to make better. And I need to have that in front of me consistently. If you follow me on Instagram, or if you follow me on Threads, I put my daily intentions every single day. It's 3 intentions that I try to live by every day. And typically it's a combat of something that I'm not doing well. So a lot of it, probably twice a week, is focus on one task at a time. Now, the inverse is because I don't focus on one task at a time. I focus on a lot of different tasks, which means that I'm not focusing on anything, right? So listing out your distractions helps you eliminate them, because what you can do is you can see, hey, here are the things that I'm constantly being distracted by. If it's social media, if it's, too many work tabs, too many things open, you are able to see it. And then when it happens, it's like a trigger in your brain, which is like, oh, I'm doing this. Let me stop doing this because it's distracting me away from where I need to be and what I actually need to be doing. Distractions, I end up, for me, seeing them most is they're distracting me away from something that I know I need to be doing that's kind of hard, so I can do something that's easier, that makes me feel a little bit better, that, kind of gives me a little bit of a dopamine hit. But when I have those distractions head on and I can look at that list and I'm like, well, this is what I'm doing and I know why I'm doing it, then what it does is it helps me lock in on what I'm supposed to be doing. The other thing that runs through my head, and I really notice this a lot, so on Wednesdays and Saturdays, I have my toughest workouts. So typically outdoor workouts. It's the heat of the summer in Texas. It was 112 degrees yesterday, right? It's humid. I do part of my workout in the garage and then part outside running. I write out my workout a few days in advance. Now, when I write out my workout, that's the plan. When I get to my workout and when it gets tough and I want to quit or I want to modify, what I say to myself in my head is, this was not a part of the plan. And meaning quitting is not a part of the plan. It's not what I wrote down. It's not what I agreed to. It's just not what I agreed to. So when you have those things written down, what you're doing is saying, these are not what I'm agreeing to. So when you start doing it, you look back at your agreements and you're like, I'm not going to do these things. That's number 1 on how to develop extreme focus. Number 2 is you got to stop multitasking. If you're dating or you're in the dating realm, giving 20%, I'm talking to men or women, doesn't matter, but if you're giving 20% to, let's say, 5 women, that's not as good as giving 100% to 1 woman. That's saying, hey, but it might add up to 100. All these points might add up to 100, but you're giving 20% to each one. So that is below failing for each one versus an A++ passing on one. So that's what I think about. If I'm doing a lot of multitasking, then what I'm doing is I'm doing one thing, I'm kind of focused on it, but my mind is over here, then I jump to over here, and I'm just giving 20% to everything or less. And it doesn't help because I'm not being mindful of each task. And when I'm not being mindful of each task, then that 20% that I'm giving actually is probably less than that because I'm not proficient in what I'm doing because my mind is elsewhere. When you stop multitasking and you do one thing at a time, and this is something that I love having, I love being busy. I love having a lot of things on my plate. This is something that it feels boring because you're like, oh, I have to just see this thing all the way through. And I can't feel like I'm making progress on what my to-do list or my opportunities list or whatever it is because I got to finish this one thing that could take 4 hours. But once you do it, you knock it off, you start to develop momentum throughout the rest of your day, and you've done it in such a way that you're proud of the work. You're proud of the workouts, the Saturday workouts, right? Not taking shortcuts. So you're mindful and you're just focusing in on that one thing. The other thing is I'll break down my Saturday workouts, right? Because I think it's very applicable. So training for High Rocks with my brother, so it's a mix of functional, a mix of running. So there's this full loop kind of around my house and around the houses, my backyard and stuff like that. That's about half a mile. So I'll do a few functional movements and I'll get out and I'll run that half a mile in the heat, and then I'll come back, I'll do the functional movements. So the past few weeks, I've been doing 60 to 90-minute AMRAPs, where as many rounds as possible. That's a long time doing that, right? But what I do is on my run, that's typically when my mind wants to go, okay, it's time to quit or time to slow down because I have 45 minutes left of this thing and I'm already tired. But what I do is I just focus in on one step at a time. That's what I'm giving that 100% to. It doesn't matter what the rest of the workout is. We'll get there when we get there, but I'm focusing on that one thing at a time. And the more I focus on that one thing at a time, the easier it becomes because I'm just biting off pieces that I can chew. I'm not trying to bite off all of the things and not get a full bite of anything, right? So when you don't multitask, when you focus in on what you're doing, you lock in on that, it helps you be proficient. It helps you show your expertise in whatever you're doing. So that is number 2, the second way that you can develop extreme focus. Number 3, now mind you, you want to put all these together. Yes, it's good to do one of these things at a time. It's going to help, but you want to put them all together. Number 3, train your brain. Your brain's elastic. Your brain's not a muscle. You hear that? I actually Googled it before. It's not a muscle, but your brain is elastic. It will learn what you give it, right? Your brain is very habitual. It's this reward system. So for me, and it took a long time to really not multitask and focus in on one, and I'm not perfect at it, but it took some time because the first few weeks it just felt dull and it felt boring and I felt agitated and I was annoyed. I was like, I want to go and do this other thing. I want to go to Instagram. I want to go and do these other things. Like my brain was agitated because I'm so used to doing 2 minutes of work, then going to Instagram for 2 minutes, and then doing 2 minutes of work, and then going to Twitter, and it was just doing so many things. But when you train your brain to sit and do the one thing and be bored, at some point in time, it becomes elastic. And it's like, this is what we're doing. It's why meditation works. It's why I love meditating in the morning. I'm not some yogi. I'm not some person who does it for extended periods of time. Like my meditation in the morning is like 3 to 10 minutes. But what I'm doing is I'm forcing my brain for that amount of time to focus on my breathing. Now, do thoughts come in? Do I get distracted? Yes. But then I refocus it and I force my mind to do something. And over time, and what I've understood because I've experienced it is, over time, when you realize you can force your brain to do something, you can do it for extended periods of time. And so for longer workouts, it's not that my body can't get through it. It's my mind is like, it's been an hour. Why aren't we on Instagram? Why aren't we, watching Netflix? Why aren't we doing something that's more engaging than doing these same, sets and reps? My mind is bored. My mind is like, but my body is like, oh, this feels good. And over time, what's happened is now my mind's like, oh, this is great. Bring it on. We can do this all day. This feels amazing. Let's just keep going at it because it's transferred that boredness to, this is actually improving us. This is actually making us feel better. This is actually pushing us in a direction of that we want to live our lives. That is something that it takes time, but when you train your brain will stop being bored, and it will establish a new baseline. Like I can sit in a room and just kind of chill all day and be fine being bored because my new baseline is like, I don't need to have so many crazy dopamine spikes for me to feel good. And even if you do, then you end up having a huge crash, right? So, you're able to reset a baseline of like, I can sit and do boring tasks. I think of this sometimes and I'm like, I don't know how, my parents did it. And, maybe if you're watching, your parents did it. But like back in the day when there wasn't social media, there wasn't cell phones, people just went and sat in cubes and just like were working on the computer all day with no headphones, no nothing, and just for 8 hours, just fine. And I was like, how do you do that, right? And it's like, well, if your brain is, I guess, predispositioned to doing a task, and that's what gives it the dopamine hit, and that's what gives it the, I'm no scientist, so don't come at me in the comments for any of that. So if I'm wrong, correct me, help me out. But whatever you feed your brain and whatever habits you give your brain, that is what is going to ultimately live out. And to change those habits, it's going to take some time. You're going to feel agitated, but over time, your brain will become elastic. It'll become used to it. Number 4, eat healthy food. This is huge. Developing extreme focus, you're going to need to be healthy. This morning, before Mason came over, I went and I did a workout. Now, last night, I went out with a buddy of mine, a neighbor. We just had one drink. I came home. I had brisket that was already cooked from the smoker. I had some brisket and I had some chicken. I drank a lot of water, everything. I had my veggies and stuff like that. But I woke up this morning. I was 5 pounds more on the scale this morning than I was the day before. And I was like, I felt bloated, a lot of water, salt, sugar, all this other type of stuff. And I'm like, I have to get up and I have to get out on a workout and I have to focus on it. The first 10 minutes were hell because my mind was jacked up. My body could get through it, but my mind was like, I didn't put the right things in my body. I don't feel the best. I'm all distracted. I'm like, I need more time to warm up and all this other type of stuff. When you eat healthy food, you have the things in you that you're able to feel lighter, you're able to feel more clarity of focus, you don't feel as sluggish, you're able to perform and have energy that transfers throughout the day in so many facets of your day, right? You want to make sure that in order for you to focus, you have to have the acumen, you have to really, what's the word I'm looking for? You just have to be sharp and alert. And alertness cannot happen if you're just having Thanksgiving meals every single day. That promotes feeling sleepy and everything. So whatever your, diet and nutrition is, make sure that you have a level of healthiness or have a level of healthiness around the times that you need to be the most alert. That is what you put into your body will show on the outside of your body, and it will actually show from a mental standpoint of what you're able to focus in on or what you're not able to focus because you're tired and you're distracted. Number 5, take breaks. The title of this being extreme focus is the reason why I said that is like, it's like a sprint, right? Because some things really need all of your time, attention, and your focus. And that's like a sprint. After a sprint, you need a break, right? For me, when I work, I'm like 30 minutes. I can give 30 focus minutes. Then after that, I'm like, I need like a 5-10 minute break, right? But those focus minutes, I'm locked in. I am moving. So if you think of your focus and your extreme focus as a sprint and give yourself an allowance to take a break, say, hey, for 30 minutes, no phone, no this, no that, and I'm just getting the things done. One, we're going to see 2 things. One, the first few times you're going to see how tired you are after the 30 minutes. And then number 2, you're going to see how much you can actually get done in those 30 minutes. And that when you start to focus in, you're like, wow, my day is actually elongated because I'm able to do so much more because I'm so locked in on the task at hand. When I'm locked in on the task at hand, I get more done. When I get more done, I have more time in my day to handle other things. I talk about this in a different podcast episode about priorities and responsibilities. I have more time to handle my responsibilities and my priorities, or I'm using this focus time to focus in on my responsibilities so that I can handle my priorities, so I can handle the other things that I want to have happen in the day because I'm handling my needs. So those 5 things help you develop extreme focus. If you can put them all together at the same time, number 1, listing out your distractions, seeing your monsters, seeing your demons, making sure that, hey, when I start trending this way on my phone, on Instagram, and I see, Instagram, social media, this is something that distracts me. I'm like, dang, I'm doing it. Let me put this down. The more that you put it down, then your brain becomes more elastic in putting that down. That's point 3. But number 2, stop multitasking. 20% to 5 things is not as good as 100% to one thing. That's helpful in dating too. Probably should have learned that earlier on in life, but I did at some point in time. But 20% to 5 is not as good as 100% to one task. Number 3, train your brain. Your brain is elastic. Those first few weeks of you just doing the right thing is not going to feel good. You're going to feel agitated because you're going to want to go back into old habits that feed that dopamine, and all that new stuff is going to feel boring. But over time, that boring stuff, you're going to get the confidence. You're going to start to feel good. You're going to start to see the benefit of it, and it's just going to be elastic, and it's going to be like, this is what we do now. Number 4, eat healthy food. If you're eating food that's making you feel sluggish, out of shape, yes, it's going to show from a body standpoint, but it's really going to show from a mental standpoint because you're going to feel tired. You're not going to feel as sharp as you want to be. And number 5, take breaks. Extreme focus is a sprint. You're going to be moving because when you don't have distractions and you're focused on that one thing, you are all in. You are moving at a quick pace, whatever your pace is, but you're going to need a break after that because just like a sprint, you've given everything you have. You're going to need a little bit of a break. So just like a sprint, you're going to give everything that you have and you're going to need a little bit of a break. The word of the day is mindful. The reason why it's mindful is because in order for you to be focused, to be truly focused, you have to be mindful about what's in front of you. And by being mindful about what's in front of you, that's all you have to see. You have to have your blinders on and be in the moment and be present in that thing. Everything else outside of it doesn't matter. What's on your Instagram feed, what's on all the other tabs, those don't matter, because if everything else matters, then you're going to be just doing 20% to the 5 things instead of 100% to the one thing. 100% to one thing every single time is going to yield a lot more results than 20% to 5 things every single time. You're going to be able to get things done. So be mindful about what's in front of you. Be mindful about what you're trying to do. Be mindful about what you love doing, because developing extreme focus is not just a work thing. You got to be extremely focused on your relationship to improve, extremely focused on your dreams, the things that you want to do in life, your career, your finances. These, in certain aspects, you have to be extremely focused so you can move the dial and the needle forward. That's what we want to do. That's what we want to do in life. That's what we want to do in this podcast. In aspects of our life, we want to move the needle forward so we can just be better people, be more efficient people, be more loving people, have more fulfillment in our day and in our life. I hope that this podcast episode helped you. If it did, share it, like it, comment, subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching. Cannot wait to see you all in the next episode. Peace. Thank you all so much for watching the Chasing a Greater Vision podcast. If you like this podcast, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, send it to friends, use a carrier pigeon, do whatever you have to do. We hope that this inspires you to chase your greater vision in your life and for us to continually and consistently do it together.